support.
The maestro, please.
End of the month, and this one's been a long time coming. I'm honestly surprised it took us this long to actually get to one of their songs, but today we're finally talking about BTS and their song Butter.
BTS.
BTS, also known as the Bangtan Boys, is a pop group coming out of South Korea, making them a K-pop group, and arguably the biggest one there is right now. There are 7 members, and going clockwise in this image, we have Kim Seokjin, Kim Namjoon, Chung Jukguk, Chung Ho-seok, Min Yoongi, Kim Taehyung, and Park Ji-min, better known as, in the same order, Jin, RM, Jungkook, J-Hope, Suga, V, and Jimin. Gonna go ahead and just apologize in case I said any of those wrong. They have had numerous hits on the Billboard Hot 100, despite not all of them being in English, though their first #1 was in English, that being... Given their second #1 was actually predominantly in Korean.
Background.
Butter was released on May 21st of 2021 and charted a month later at #1. As of the beginning of July, it is still #1. There have been numerous remixes of the song, the first one being the Hotter remix, which was actually released in the same week that the original was. 2 more remixes were made and released at the beginning of June, those being the Sweeter remix and the Cooler remix. Of all the BTS members, only RM is given any sort of writing or production credit, and he is joined by Jenna Andrews, Rob Grimaldi, Ron Perry, Stephen Kirk, Alex Billowitz, and Sebastian Garcia. Jenna Andrews is by no means a stranger to the pop scene, having worked on such hits as
I've been lonely.
As well as
Hey, it's a holiday. I got hoes on hoes and they out of control, yeah.
Rob Grimaldi is another one who's no stranger to the pop scene. Given not as decorated as Jenna Andrews, he still has a hit or two, one being
You don't gotta worry about me, baby. Made it clear that you
Ron Perry is a big name in the music industry, considering he's the chairman and CEO of Columbia Records. Despite his executive status, he still does have a pop credit or two, such as Finally, we have Stephen Kirk, Alex Billowitz, and Sebastian Garcia. While none of them are exactly rookies in the music industry, this is their first charting pop credit for all of them. Butter is released by Sony Music and Big Hit Music.
Form.
Butter is listed as a dance pop, disco pop, and EDM song, is 2 minutes 45 seconds long, 4/4 time, A flat major, and 110 beats per minute. After the drum intro, we are given the first verse, first done by Jungkook, then V, and then a little tag by J-Hope at the end.
Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover.
We then get the first pre-chorus done by Jin with RM at the end.
Ooh, when I look in the mirror, I'm not too hard to do.
We then finally get our first chorus done by Jungkook, Jimin, and V.
First step right left to my beat.
That then takes us to the second verse done by V, Jin, and Suga at the end.
Don't need no usher to remind me you got it bad.
Which then takes us to our second pre-chorus, this time done by Jimin, but RM is still at the end.
I got the superstar glow, so ooh, to the boogie line.
Then we have our second chorus done by Jimin, Jin, and Jungkook.
I like the move right with me, baby.
We then have the first post-chorus, which is predominantly just a talk box. We then get our rap bridge, first done by Suga, then RM.
Like haters, fresh boy pull up and we lay low.
That then leads us to the last chorus done by V, Jin, Jungkook, and some ad-libs by Jimin.
Know that I got that heat. Let me show you 'cause talk is cheap.
We then have another post-chorus, starting off with J-Hope and ending with RM.
Cool light, cool shade, and you know we don't stop.
Before Jungkook takes us out of the song entirely.
Hotter, sweeter, cooler, butter. Get it, let it roll.
Bass.
bass. The bass is actually the first melodic instrument we hear in the song, period, after those drums, and it syncopatedly just hits that low A flat. The pre-chorus has it go a little bit higher, starting at that low D flat and creeping up towards that F. It repeats that sub-phrase, but this time at the end it just drops off. We then get to the extremely dense chorus. The overall bass line that you end up hearing does repeat that D flat, E flat, F line. Given at the end, it then jumps up to B flat and C. It then repeats that phrase, but changes the ending, this time going a bit lower, just hitting that A flat and that B flat. The last bass figure we hear is during the rap section. It repeats that same D flat creeping up to F figure, but has a different rhythm this time.
Chords.
The first full harmonic element we hear in the song is actually in the transition from the pre-chorus to the chorus, and those form those unique F minor and B flat chords, with minor sevens, suspensions, and even omissions throughout. But we do get those shorter chords coming in near the end, which are simply D flat over A flat, E flat over B flat, and A flat over C. During the actual chorus, things get very dense, and it would take a long time to actually pick apart each individual sonic element within the entirety of the chorus. Thus, I kind of reduced it to the overall harmonic structure, which is simply a D flat major, E flat major, F flat minor chord progression.
Synth.
I do want to point out one melodic element during the chorus though, and that is the synth line that we hear. Mostly just repeating that D flat in the beginning, but then plays that iconic G flat, A flat, B flat, A flat, F figure that we hear so many times throughout it. It pretty much repeats that throughout the entire chorus until the end in order to match up with the rest of the instrumental ensemble. It goes E flat, A flat, E flat, C.
Talk box.
The second time we're talking about a talk box on Pop Analysis, it keeps on repeating that figure, starting off at that low A flat and doing that 16th note figure at the end. Give it at the end of the second subphrase, it does that up a fifth, and at the end of the phrase, it actually does both of them. The following phrase then repeats that almost exactly minus the last measure, but it's done an octave higher.
Verse.
Jungkook opens up the first verse starting on a G flat outside of the key to give us some flavor, always working himself down to that A flat though.
Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover. Don't pop like trouble, breaking into your heart like that.
Following that, we have V essentially doing the same thing, still starting on that G flat and working our way down to that A flat. And then we have J-Hope at the end with the break it down.
Cool shade stunner, yeah, owe it all to my mother. Hot like summer, yeah, I'm making you sweat like that. Break it down.
The second verse, first phrase done by V, with some supporting harmonies by Jimin at the beginning, before just going straight up to V, but then near the end we get an octave harmony and that lovely melisma at the end on bad.
Smooth like butter, pour you in like no other. Don't need no usher to remind me you got it bad.
The second phrase has Jin in constant thirds with himself, minus on a few words, but at the very end they actually switch, the main vocal line going lower and the harmony actually going higher. And then we have Suga at the end with Break It Down.
Ain't no other that can sweep you up like a rubber. Straight up, I Gotcha. Making you fall like that. Break it down.
Pre-chorus.
The first pre-chorus is almost done entirely by Gene, mostly has him on that E flat, given he does hit the A flat below and the A flat above, before going into that melisma near the end, which then RM wraps up with Do the Boogie Like.
When I look in the mirror, I'm not too hard to do. I got the superstar glow, so do the boogie line.
In the second pre-chorus we have Jimin, but he has these lovely harmonies that he does with himself in fourths, in sixths, in thirds, and again, we have that same melisma at the end, and that same RM, Do the Boogie Like.
When I look in the mirror, I'm not too hard to do. I got the superstar glow, so do the boogie line.
Chorus.
The first phrase of the first chorus is done by Jungkook, starts off on that C on the staff and works its way down to the octave below. The second subphrase then repeats that same thing, but in the last measure he goes from that E flat all the way back up to that C.
Side step right left to my beat. I like the moon rock with me, baby.
The next phrase is done by Jimin and stays pretty much on that higher register, never really going below that E flat and ending on that B flat. However, the second subphrase is done by V, doing that same sort of C and working your way down, but he works his way back up, all within that C octave.
Know that I got that heat. Let me show you 'cause talk is cheap. Side step right left to my beat. Get it, let it roll.
The second chorus is almost exactly the same, except we have a change in singers. This time, this first phrase is done by Jimin.
Side step right left to my beat. I like the moon rock with me, baby.
Melodically speaking, the rest of the chorus does stay exactly the same, but again, a change in singers. This time we have Jin doing those first couple of bars, and Jungkook is the one who ends it.
Know that I got that heat. Let me show you 'cause talk is cheap. A side step right left to my beat. Get it, let it roll.
Going to our last chorus, we have V doing that initial phrase, given we have some ad-libs on top by Jimin.
Side step right left to my beat. Right left to my beat. I like the moon rock with me, baby.
This then takes us to the last phrase of the last chorus. Started initially by Jin, we still have those ad-libs from Jimin on top, but Jungkook is the one who ends it, just like he did in the second chorus.
Know that I got that heat. Let me show you 'cause talk is cheap. Side step right left to my beat. Get it, let it roll.
Bridge.
The rap section of the song, which I call a bridge, although you could also argue it being a third verse, starts off with Suga having some backup vocals near the end done by the rest of the group.
Eyes on my wrist, I'm the nice guy. Got the right body and the right mind. Rolling up the party, got the right vibes. Move like haters.
We then get a phrase done by RM, and there are some background vocals that were added underneath him.
Fresh boy, pull up and we lay low. All the plans get moving when the bass low. Got the army right behind us when we say so. Let's go.
Post-chorus.
Only talking about the second post-chorus, because again, the first post-chorus is pretty much just all talk box. Regardless, we get J-Hope going back and forth with the rest of the group, and it's sometimes just all together.
Cool light, cool shade, and you know we don't stop. Highlight, ain't no, you been like, oh my god.
We then get RM doing the same thing J-Hope was doing, going back and forth with the rest of the group, but the song fully ends with Jungkook doing the Get It, Let It Roll.
We gon' make it rock in his head. We gon' make it bounce in his head. Hotter, sweeter, cooler, butter.
Get it, let it roll.
It's a song like this that very much informs my opinion that K-pop is going to be here to stay, at least for a little while. With the music market becoming more diverse, especially with the increase in Latin music as well, the industry has become quite diverse. And with the success of other K-pop groups like 17, Tomorrow X Together, and Blackpink, I think we're just going to be seeing more and more K-pop hits that even hit #1 on the charts. They have quite the dedicated fan base. I mean, have you seen what BTS fans are called? They're called the...
Behind us when we say so. Let's go.
Side step right left to my beat. Right left to my beat. I like the moon rock with me, baby.
Again, the BTS army is quite the dedicated fan base, and it's because of that that I think this is either going to be my most liked episode or my least liked episode of Pop Analysis. So I really hope this analysis I did it right by the BTS army's standards.
Know that I got that